Hello, my name is Janne Kauhanen. I'm the host and sauna majori of Cybersecurity Sauna. Today's episode was recorded live on site at our Cybersecurity Sauna booth at the Sphere 22 security event in Helsinki. We had an opportunity to talk to some of the guests and speakers at the event. I have here with me Risto Siilasmaa, who back in 1988 founded a company called Data Fellows, and now it's called WithSecure. What has that journey been like to you?
Well, it basically has been my whole life.
Exactly.
I was 21 at the time, a second-year student at the Helsinki University of Technology. And now I'm significantly older, but I have enjoyed working in cybersecurity throughout my life because there's a sense of purpose to what we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that makes it worthwhile.
Now, in this event, in Sphere 22, you're talking about the importance of trust in relationships. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think trust is the basis for everything. It's the basis for human relationships. It's the basis between the employer and the employee. It's definitely the basis for a cybersecurity vendor selling technology to its customers and maintaining and supporting those technologies and the customer as well. And trust is everything, in my opinion.
So how do you go about building trust? Because it seems to me like it's a thing that either exists or it doesn't.
Old saying is that it takes a long time to build and you can destroy it in a moment.
Yes.
And it definitely works that way. So we just need to keep on doing the right thing every day, every moment. And trust will be built through that. It's based on honesty and transparency.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be hiding the bad things. I was speaking this morning about data and the sort of the integrity of taking whatever data you get and accepting it and then reacting and doing things. If you just take the data and you don't do things based on it, then it's worthless.
Right.
So if you get good data, it's almost less as well because it doesn't trigger actions.
It doesn't tell you anything you didn't know.
Exactly. If you get sort of bad news, it can be hugely valuable because then it needs to trigger actions.
Right.
And as soon as you start doing things, you will feel good that I'm actually improving things. I'm heading into a better future. And that's why bad news is actually good news.
Is there a difference in sort of building that trust relationship between, your clients or your employees or with your partners?
No, I don't think it is that different. It's still based on not letting the other party down.
Yeah.
And not lying, being honest, and also showing trust. Because the best way to get trust is to show trust. For example, with a partner, when we tell them what we can't do, we show trust to them and they will trust us more because we are honest also on sort of things that we are weak on.
Yeah. And I guess the same with clients as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
With anybody.
Yeah. That's actually a comment I hear fairly often, that clients are saying that our approach to many things is refreshingly different because we're very transparent about the things we can and can't do.
As I mentioned this morning, I'm an active investor, a venture capital investor, and I have a fairly large portfolio of companies, many of which have been extremely successful.
Yeah.
And as I look at new investment opportunities and meet the founding team for the first time, I think there's a strong correlation between success and honesty.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And when I meet teams that want to give this sort of stereotypical American, everything is great and we are the best thing in the world, it doesn't generate trust in my mind.
No.
I feel suspicious. And when I meet a typical Finnish team or Estonian team or Swedish team, they typically give me the bad news first. And that generates trust. And then I have to maybe dig a little bit to get the good news. But I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I guess like in an investor relationship, either in cases like that or, for example, us with our shareholders, the bad things are going to come out anyway. Yeah. And if we're transparent about them, then, we were the ones who told the bad news.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in a public company, there are some regulative restrictions on what you can do and how you need to do them. So unfortunately, we can be more transparent and honest in our business relationships than with the relationship to the stock market. And that's not a good thing.
No.
But it is how it is.
Oh, that's interesting. We're a technology company. We like to talk about technical and technological things. What role does technology play in relationships of trust?
Technology is in our DNA.
Right.
That's the kind of a company that I wanted to found. A company that comes up with new solutions and solutions to difficult problems, which often means that the tech that we create is also somewhat complex.
Yeah.
And that's the basis of what we do. Even in our consulting work, it relates to very difficult technologies and technological challenges.
Yeah.
And these guys also create their own tooling. And so it's really who we are. As it is who we are, then of course it always reflects on our partner relationship and customer relationships. And for trust, our technology needs to be good in order to strengthen that trust.
Absolutely.
And we need to have a sense of pride towards the technology that we create. That we shouldn't accept something that we can't be proud of.
And I think we are proud of our technology. Like we're often releasing, for example, you mentioned consultancy tooling, for example. We're often releasing tools that we made for ourselves as open source. Is that part of building that trust and being transparent?
Yeah, and I think it's part of the ethos that has been there for a long time in cybersecurity, that we are sort of united against the criminal element. And while we compete, we try not to compete to the disadvantage of our customers.
Right.
So, for example, from the very early days, we started sharing malware samples, whereas one could easily have thought that, hey, I'm the only one who can protect against this malware for some time because the others don't have a sample. So I have an advantage. I can even promote myself as the only one who can protect against this A, B, and C. But we decided as a community not to do things that way. And that ethos has faded a little bit, but it is still there. And I definitely like to see us as a player that strengthens that ethos rather than weakening it.
Yeah, and you know, we are doing that. We are, you know, we don't want companies to sort of win because they get hacked a little bit less than their competition. Our goal is that nobody should ever get hacked at all.
And we can't do that alone or accomplish that alone. So we need to also do things that help others achieve that goal. And that's why open sourcing some of the tools that we create makes sense.
Absolutely. So, you know, let's talk about the future a little bit. What kind of challenges do you see in the future for trust relationships? Is it going to be easier in the future to build those relationships or harder, do you think?
Well, I don't think it's going to be more challenging for us as such. But the world is definitely becoming a more sort of gray scale because of national security and because of political dimension. Interfering more with the technology space and vice versa. Technology is becoming so central to nation states and people that the political sphere is forced to spend more time on thinking about tech. And Europe, unfortunately, is a little bit between two large players, between China and the United States, and we are rather weak in many areas of tech where it counts. Not every area. We have some great companies, but overall we are behind and rather falling more behind than catching up.
Now, like on a European level, we're very well known for being the InfoSec company in Europe. But does that mean that we also then have a responsibility because of that trust of sort of, obviously we have a responsibility to our clients, but do we have a responsibility as a company to the sort of wider public because of that trust that exists towards us?
Yeah, that's how I would like to think about it, that we do have a responsibility. Part of that responsibility is to remain a European cybersecurity player. Because as you can imagine, we could easily have become part of a US-based publicly listed entity over the years. And then Europe would be even weaker in terms of its own abilities in cyber.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I want to thank you for being with us today here in Cyber Sauna at the Sphere 22 event. It's been a pleasure talking to you, sir.
It's a great sauna. And just missing the cold beer.
Exactly. We'll see about what we can do about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was our show today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in.